On my 5th wedding anniversary, I thought my husband was about to surprise me with something beautiful. Instead, a single piece of jewelry, engraved with the wrong woman's initials, set my entire life on fire. My parents tried to hide it. My sister went silent. But the truth clawed its way out, and what I discovered changed everything. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with your entire heart, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this story is about lies, betrayal, and the sweetest revenge you'll ever hear.
5 years. That's how long I'd been married.
5 years of birthdays, vacations, fights, and makeups. 5 years of believing, truly believing, that my husband and I were building something real, something worth celebrating. So when our 5th anniversary rolled around, I wanted it to feel special. Not flashy, not over the top, but meaningful.
You know what I mean?
That quiet sense of we made it this far, and we're stronger for it. I set the table that night with candles and the good china, the kind we got as wedding gifts but never used. I cooked his favorite meal, even though it meant 3 hours in the kitchen. And as I sat there across from him, watching the glow of the candlelight flicker across his face, I told myself, this is what love looks like. This is what it means to choose someone every day. But then, he asked me something that turned the entire evening on its head. So, he said, pouring himself another glass of wine, did you like the necklace? At first, I thought I misheard him. The necklace? I laughed nervously and asked, what necklace?
And that's when the air in the room shifted.
My husband froze, fork halfway to his mouth. My mother, who had insisted we celebrate at their house so family could be part of it, suddenly found the floor incredibly fascinating.
My father cleared his throat but said nothing.
And my sister just stared at her plate like it might rescue her if she stayed quiet long enough.
My stomach tightened. Something wasn't right.
I asked again, louder this time, what necklace? My husband looked at me like I was playing some kind of game.
The one I sent you. The one that should have arrived yesterday. Did you get it or not?
And in that moment, I felt like the only person in the room who didn't know the script. My heart started hammering, my mouth went dry. I searched their faces for answers, my mom's clenched jaw, my dad's fidgeting hands, my sister's guilty silence.
Nobody spoke. Nobody explained.
It was like some terrible secret was hanging in the air, and I was the last person allowed to touch it. I forced a smile, though my insides were screaming. No, I said carefully, I didn't get anything. The silence that followed was heavier than any words could have been. And in that silence, a thought lodged itself into my chest, sharp and unshakable. Something's being hidden from me. Something that's going to hurt. The moment the words left my husband's mouth, I knew the night was ruined.
You can't just brush off a silence like that. It clings. It grows teeth.
I tried to laugh it off, tried to act like maybe it was just a delivery mistake. But deep down, my instincts were already screaming. And once you feel that shift in your gut, you can't unfeel it. After dinner, when the dishes were stacked and my husband stepped outside to take a phone call, I turned to my family. My voice was calm, but it carried an edge I didn't bother hiding anymore. Where is it? I asked. My mom blinked, playing dumb. Where's what, honey? The necklace. My hands were shaking, but I curled them into fists on my lap.
He said he sent me something.
It didn't just vanish into thin air. So where is it? For a second, no one moved. My dad fiddled with the remote control, pretending he needed to check the news. My sister shifted uncomfortably, her foot tapping against the floor like a trapped rabbit. Finally, my mom sighed. That heavy, disappointed sigh that she always used when I was younger, the one that made me feel like I'd already done something wrong just by existing. You're imagining things. Maybe the package got lost. Don't make a scene.
Her words cut deeper than I expected. Don't make a scene. Like I was already the problem. I swallowed hard.
So you didn't see anything? Nothing came here.
Silence again.
But this time, I caught it, the way my sister's eyes darted to the cabinet by the stairs. Just a flicker, just a second. But it was enough. My chest burned with a sudden, electric fury.
They knew something.
They weren't just clueless, they were complicit. When my husband came back inside, I plastered on a smile, pretending everything was fine. But inside?
Inside I was unraveling.
Because here's the thing, when your family hides something from you, it doesn't feel like protection.
It feels like betrayal.
And in that room, at that moment, I realized my own blood was keeping secrets that belonged to me.
That night I barely slept.
I tossed and turned, staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying every second of the dinner.
The way my mom avoided my eyes. The way my sister chewed her lip raw.
The way my dad acted like silence was safer than truth. And the more I thought about it, the more a terrifying possibility grew. What if this wasn't about a delivery mistake at all? What if the necklace wasn't lost, but deliberately kept from me? The next morning, I woke up with the same heaviness in my chest. My husband had already left for work, leaving behind only the faint smell of his cologne clinging to the sheets. Normally, that scent comforted me. But today, it made my stomach twist. I couldn't shake the image of my sister's eyes flicking toward the cabinet. It replayed in my mind like a film clip stuck on repeat. The way her jaw tightened. The way she couldn't look at me afterward. So I did something I never thought I'd do in my own parents' home. I snooped. I waited until everyone was distracted. Mom out in the garden, Dad tinkering in the garage, my sister scrolling on her phone in the living room. I slipped quietly to the cabinet by the stairs. My hands trembled as I opened the drawer. At first, I saw nothing unusual. Old envelopes, a stack of bills, some random keys. But then, shoved under a pile of receipts, there it was. A small, velvet jewelry box. The sight of it made my heart lurch into my throat. My fingers shook as I pulled it out, the cool surface pressing against my skin. I already knew what it was before I opened it. Click. The lid lifted. Inside lay a delicate silver necklace, glinting faintly even in the dim light of the hallway. It was beautiful, elegant, thoughtful, the kind of thing that made your chest ache with the idea of being cherished. But then my eyes landed on the engraving. One single letter carved into the pendant. Not the first letter of my name. Not even close. It was another woman's initial. I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred as tears welled up, hot and stinging. My mind screamed, this isn't real, this can't be real. But the metal in my hand said otherwise. The room spun around me. My knees buckled, and I sat on the floor, clutching the necklace as though holding it tighter might somehow rewrite the truth. Behind me, I heard a sharp intake of breath. I turned, and there stood my sister. Her face was pale, eyes wide with the kind of guilt you can't fake. You weren't supposed to see that, she whispered. My throat closed. So it's true? You knew? All of you. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Just silence. Heavy, damning silence. And in that silence, I realized something devastating. Not only had my husband betrayed me, but my family had chosen to bury the evidence. They weren't protecting me. They were protecting him. I sat on the floor clutching that necklace like it was poison, my pulse pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My sister hovered near the doorway, chewing her lip, looking anywhere but at me. Finally, I forced the words out. Whose initial is this? She flinched. I don't know. Don't lie to me. My voice cracked, raw and desperate. You've known this whole time, haven't you? Mom, Dad, you all knew. Her silence was answer enough. My chest burned with betrayal. I wasn't just heartbroken, I was humiliated. The people who were supposed to love me unconditionally had chosen to keep me blind. And for what? To protect him? To protect me? No. If they'd wanted to protect me, they would have handed me the truth, no matter how ugly it was. By the time my parents came back inside, my anger had shifted into something cold and sharp. I didn't wait. I marched into the kitchen, slammed the jewelry box onto the counter, and spat. Explain. Now. My mom froze. My dad's jaw tightened. You weren't supposed to see that, my mom whispered, almost exactly the way my sister had. Why? My hands shook as I gestured to the necklace. Why keep this from me? Why hide his lies? My dad sighed heavily, rubbing his forehead. Sweetheart, you've been fragile. We didn't want to put more on your shoulders. We thought. You thought you had the right to decide what I could handle. I cut him off, my voice rising. You thought I was better off living a lie than knowing the truth about my own husband. They looked at me with pity. That pity was worse than any confession. My mom's voice broke. We thought it was kinda. Kinda. That word rattled around in my head like glass shattering. What part of this? My husband buying jewelry for another woman, my family covering it up. What part of this was kind? When my husband came home later that night, I was waiting for him. The necklace sat on the table between us like a loaded gun. Who is she? I asked, my voice flat. His eyes flicked to the pendant, and in that flicker, I had all the confirmation I needed. His mouth opened, excuses tumbling out, a misunderstanding, a mix-up. It wasn't what it looked like.
But it was. It was exactly what it looked like.
And as he stammered, as my parents shifted uncomfortably in the background, something inside me snapped. I realized I wasn't just fighting a cheating husband. I was standing in a house full of people who had chosen his lies over my truth. And that betrayal cut deeper than anything. The house felt like a stage that night, everyone playing their part, everyone pretending they weren't caught in the spotlight of truth. My husband's face twisted into a mask of wounded innocence, my parents hovered like nervous stagehands, and my sister sat frozen in the corner, biting her nails down to nothing. I don't know why you're so upset, my husband said finally, his tone calm, almost patronizing.
It was just a gift.
Jewelry doesn't mean anything. I laughed, but it came out hollow. Engraved jewelry doesn't mean anything? With another woman's initial on it.
His jaw clenched.
You're being dramatic. There it was, the line he always used when he wanted to turn the problem back on me.
Dramatic. Sensitive.
Overreacting. Each word like a needle meant to deflate me. But this time, it didn't work. I looked at him, then at my parents. You all sat here, watched me play happy wife, and said nothing. You let me smile and cook dinner and toast to 5 years of lies. Sweetheart, my mom murmured, reaching for my hand. Marriages are complicated.
People make mistakes.
Sometimes it's better not to dig too deep.
I yanked my hand back like her touch burned me. No.
Mistakes are forgetting to take out the trash. Mistakes are burning dinner. Cheating on your wife for God knows how long and buying another woman jewelry. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Silence settled over the room, heavy and suffocating. And in that silence, I realized something I should have seen a long time ago. They weren't going to save me. Not my husband, not my parents, not my sister. They were all too invested in keeping the facade alive.
So I had a choice.
Either I could keep playing my role in their little performance, or I could finally walk off the stage. The thought hit me like a jolt of lightning, sharp and undeniable. I don't need their version of love. I need the truth, even if it means standing alone. I stood up, my chair scraping against the tile, the sound slicing through the room. I'm done. My husband blinked. Done with what? Done with pretending. Done with being lied to. Done with being the last to know. His face went pale, panic flickering in his eyes. My mom gasped softly, my dad muttered my name like it might anchor me back into place.
But there was no going back.
Because in that moment, my breaking point became my turning point. And I knew, the next time they saw me, I wouldn't be the woman begging for answers. I'd be the woman delivering consequences. When I walked out of that kitchen, necklace in hand, something inside me shifted. I wasn't just a wife who'd been cheated on anymore. I was a woman with proof. Proof of betrayal, proof of deceit, proof that the people closest to me had chosen silence over loyalty.
And proof is power. I didn't explode. I didn't scream or pack my bags that night.
That's what they all expected me to do.
My husband thought he could charm his way out of it.
My parents thought time would cool my anger, that I'd tuck the truth away like an old photograph.
But I had other plans. The first thing I did was dig. Quietly. Methodically.
While my husband showered, I went through his phone. He was careless, he always thought he was smarter than me. That arrogance became my weapon. The texts were there. Hundreds of them. Flirty messages. Pictures. Promises. He wasn't just cheating with one woman. There were several. The necklace wasn't an accident, it was part of a pattern, a breadcrumb in a trail of betrayal that stretched back years. Each screenshot I saved onto a hidden drive felt like a tiny brick in the wall I was building between us. Next came the bank statements. I pulled records, tracing every suspicious transaction. Hotel charges. Dinners. Gift shop purchases. My husband thought he was clever hiding them under vague categories, but money always leaves a trail.
And then there was my family.
I didn't trust them anymore, not with my heart, not with my safety, not even with my silence.
So I tested them.
I dropped small hints, half-truths, to see what they'd say. Every time, they urged me to forgive, to forget, to not destroy my marriage over one mistake.
But I wasn't destroying my marriage. He already had.
All I was doing
was preparing the funeral. Meanwhile, I played the role of dutiful wife flawlessly. I smiled at dinners, laughed at his jokes, and pretended my heart wasn't already packed in boxes. Every performance gave me cover, every fake smile gave me time to prepare. I started seeing a lawyer. Quietly. I learned my rights, learned what I was entitled to, learned how to protect myself before making a move. My husband had no idea. Neither did my family. And as the weeks passed, my plan sharpened. When the truth came out, it wouldn't just be whispered in corners. It wouldn't just be my pain hidden behind closed doors. It would explode, in front of everyone. Because if betrayal loves the dark, then revenge thrives in the light. The day I chose for my revenge wasn't random. It was another family dinner. My mother insisted on hosting, the kind where the table was set with lace placemats and polished silverware, like everything in her house had to sparkle with forced perfection. I played my role to the last detail. I dressed in the soft blue dress my husband loved, the one he once said made me look trustworthy. My smile was painted on, wide and practiced. To anyone watching, I looked like the same devoted wife, the same obedient daughter. But under that surface, I was a storm. Halfway through the meal, when the conversation turned to my husband's job and my dad made some offhand remark about how lucky I was to have such a provider, I decided it was time. I placed my fork down gently, folded my hands in my lap, and said in the calmest voice I'd ever used, "You're right, Dad. I'm lucky. In fact, I'm so lucky, I'd love to share just how much my husband has provided me." The table went quiet. My husband froze, wine glass halfway to his lips. I reached into my purse and pulled out the jewelry box. I set it carefully in the center of the table, the velvet catching the glow of the chandelier. "Do you all remember this?" I asked, my eyes flicking to my mom, then my sister. Both went pale. My dad shifted uncomfortably. My husband's voice cracked.
"Honey, we don't need to."
I cut him off. "Go on.
Tell them whose initial is on it."
He stammered, his face reddening.
It was just a mistake, the jeweler."
"Wrong."
I slid the box open, revealing the necklace. The letter gleamed coldly, damning in its simplicity.
This wasn't a mistake. It was a gift. For someone else. I pulled out my phone.
With a flick of my finger, the screen lit up with screenshots, the texts, the photos, the receipts.
I turned it toward my parents. "Here. Read them. Every single one.
The dinners. The hotel rooms. The women."
My voice didn't crack. It rang clear, steady, merciless. "This is the man you told me to forgive.
The one you thought I should protect my marriage for." My mom's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes filling with tears. My dad muttered something under his breath, shaking his head in disbelief. My sister started crying silently, her guilt spilling out in saltwater streaks. But the best part? Watching my husband's mask shatter. His arrogance, his smug confidence, it evaporated in seconds. He stuttered, reaching for excuses, but the evidence was too solid, too damning. Every screenshot was a nail in the coffin of his lies. I leaned back, arms crossed, letting the silence punish him. "So tell me," I asked softly, "how many more anniversaries would I have wasted, celebrating a marriage that only existed in my imagination?" His face crumpled, desperation bleeding through.
"Please, don't do this.
We can fix it."
"No," I snapped. "You broke it."
"And I gestured to my parents, helped you bury the pieces." My mom sobbed openly now, whispering, "We just wanted to spare you." I looked at her, and for the first time, my voice trembled with anger. "You didn't spare me. You betrayed me. You watched me sit at this table, smiling, while my husband bought love letters and necklaces for other women. You protected him, not me." The silence that followed was suffocating, but I let it hang. I wanted them to feel it, the weight of their choices, the cost of their silence. Finally, I stood. My chair scraped loudly against the floor, echoing like a gavel in a courtroom. I picked up the necklace, closed the box, and slid it back into my purse. "This marriage is over. The papers are ready." I locked eyes with my husband. "You don't get to humiliate me in the shadows. I'm walking out with the truth in broad daylight." His face went slack, his hand twitching as if to reach for me, but he stayed frozen. My parents didn't move either. They just sat there, stunned, as I walked toward the door. Every step felt like shedding a chain. And as I reached the threshold, I turned back one last time. My voice was calm, almost gentle, but it carried the weight of everything I'd lost, and everything I was about to reclaim.
You wanted me silent. You wanted me blind. But now?
You'll have to live with the sound of my absence.
And with that, I left. Not broken. Not begging.
But free.
Walking away that night wasn't easy.
It wasn't like flipping a switch and suddenly feeling nothing. No, the grief came in waves. Anger, sadness, numbness, then back to anger again. But underneath it all, there was a steady current of relief. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't living in someone else's lie. Here's what I realized. Revenge doesn't always look like slamming doors or screaming matches. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge is simply dragging the truth into the light and letting it burn the people who tried to keep it hidden. My husband thought he could juggle a double life forever.
My parents thought they could shield me from pain by controlling what I knew.
But in the end, their silence and his deception collapsed under the weight of one thing they underestimated: me. The necklace wasn't just a piece of jewelry.
It was a symbol.
A reminder that I deserved honesty, loyalty, and respect, and that I would never again settle for less. And walking out of that house, with their shocked faces burned into my memory, I understood something important.
Revenge isn't about destroying someone else's life. It's about reclaiming your own. So yes, my marriage ended. My relationship with my family fractured. But in their place, I found freedom. I found clarity. And most importantly, I found myself.
And that was worth every broken piece. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And I want to hear from you. What's the most shocking betrayal you've ever seen, or lived through? Drop your story in the comments, because your voice matters here. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because more real-life stories of betrayal, revenge, and transformation are coming your way. Sometimes, the darkest moments give us the brightest freedom. And if you've ever felt betrayed, just remember, truth has a way of finding its way out.
Always.